Hey there YouTube, how goes it? Yes, I have had a haircut, thank you for noticing. Today I've got a real doozy of a Transformer to do for you. Today I will be capping off my Predacon General series, and I have saved this guy till the very last, simply because he's going to take me the longest to do. This guy is marketed as having 10 modes. That's the most modes of any Transformer in existence. Now, there is a little creative license taken in that description, methinks. I think that the designers and the advertisers were engaging in just a wee bit of hyperbole there. He ostensibly has 10 modes, however I'd say only 6 of them are meaningful. The others are clear examples of someone sitting fiddling with the Transformer, getting it into something like a particular arrangement and saying that kind of looks like something, let's market that as a mode. I am of course talking about Gigatron, or RID Megatron as he's also known. Now, much as I might complain about this toy, he is beautiful. He's a really cool toy, and I would, even given the fact that he has at least 5 redundant modes, I would still advise picking him up in any form you can get him, because he is so cool. He's a beautiful toy. The modes that are meaningful are brilliant, and put many Transformers that only have single modes to shame. Character, not much to talk about really. He's a bad guy, and he fulfills every bad guy stereotype. He's very much a Bond villain. He sits in his undersea base, monologuing and letting incompetent underlings do his business for him for the most part. That's all you really need to know about him. He does occur in the expanded universe as a sort of semi-legendary Cybertronian figure. He was referenced once or twice in the Dreamwave continuity as a sort of precursor to the Decepticons, some ancient Cybertronian, but it was never followed through on. So that's basically it. That is all of Gigatron's background. I am starting with some of the modes that suck. I'm going to start with the crappy modes and then build up to the really, really good ones. And this is probably the suckiest of a sucky lot, to be honest. I mean, what? Take a look at that. Can you even tell what that is? Because, you know, if I didn't have the instructions to tell me, I wouldn't know what the hell that was. It looks like a fan mode, doesn't it? It looks like someone has sat fiddling with the Transformer and said, oh yeah, you can clip it together in this way and it kind of looks like something. Kind of looks like something is a really good description of this. It's apparently an elephant. Yeah, that is supposed to be an elephant mode. You can kind of see where they're coming from. I mean, the wings kind of look like ears. You have the cockpit forming eyes, and then the trunk coming down here, and the swords kind of look like tusks, if you're being very, very generous. This guy is an exercise in imagination. You really need to stretch it in order to accommodate some of these purported modes. It's okay. At a pinch, it's all right. I can kind of get behind it as an alien approximation of something elephantine, as opposed to an elephant in and of itself. I can sort of see this rampaging through a human city and causing lots of destruction. I'm really, really struggling to convince myself here, and that is something you will have to do with this guy if you do get him, I'm afraid. You will have to do a lot of that. Moving swiftly on, because we've got a lot of shit to shovel through before we start reaching the diamonds, ladies. Okay, fine. So the mammoth mode could suck a bowling ball through a garden hose. That's absolutely so, and you'll get no argument from me. What about this? What would you say that is? I could give you 10 guesses, couldn't I, and you still wouldn't get it. That apparently is its hydrofoil mode. Yeah, it's a kind of boat, I suppose. It's a nondescript aquatic mode. Yeah, that's another one. That's another one, quite frankly. That is definitely another finger. Fuck off, is it? It it doesn't really resemble anything. It's kind of vehicular in a very, very vague sense, in the sense that it's kind of aerodynamic to a certain degree. That's as much as you could really say for it. Personally, I can think of any number of titles or names for this that are infinitely more appropriate. A load of old bollocks springs instantaneously to mind. And if I have my way, this will be the last time this toy ever sees this configuration. I can tell you that, because it sucks. It sucks in the worst possible ways. This is lazy, ladies and gentlemen. This is... I mean, look at that. It doesn't even hold together properly. If I don't hold it, it flops all over the place. It sucks. It's a very, very bad mode indeed. And it was just obviously just thrown in to make up the numbers so they can market it as a 10-mode transformer. But wait, there's more. Now, in all fairness, this one looks kind of, sort of, maybe a wee bit, perhaps, like what it's supposed to be. I suppose. You get 3 guesses with this one. What is it? It's supposed to be called a pteranodon. Bollocks. It's a chicken. It's a big robot chicken. And it actually looks like a big robot chicken that's sitting on its nest, incubating eggs. And this one really emphasises one of the nastier faults with this guy. A lot of the modes require you to look at them at a particular way and from a particular angle for them to work. Let me show you what I mean. Oh dear! Oh my god, what's going on at the back there? I mean, the front isn't exactly appealing, but what the fuck is going on there? There is literally nowhere for these legs to go. They just sort of... You're supposed to sort of just hunch them up the back as far as they can go, so they're sort of out of sight, like all good kibble should be. It doesn't quite work, though. It's horrible. Absolutely horrible. It's a proper horror show of a mode, this one. And you wonder... Another funny thing about this guy is that he has modes that make other modes redundant. He has at least 2 other modes that I can think of that make this... You see them and you think, why? Why does he have this mode? Why, in what circumstances would he use this mode over, say, his double-headed dragon mode, which is fantastic, or his jet mode, which is also fantastic? Unless he happens across a clutch of very large Cybertronian eggs that need incubating, there's no real reason for this mode to even exist. It's very, very, very silly indeed. Okay, now we're getting into those modes that aren't fantastic by any stretch of the imagination, but which are at the very least halfway identifiable as something. Yeah, big 4-legged winged beastie. I think charitably we could call that a griffin mode. Yeah, it's all right. I can sort of get that. I can see how that could potentially be useful to a Decepticon general, something that flies and has 4 limbs and could go rampaging through human cities. That's the sound of my brain really trying to accommodate this, alright? And I'm sure that your brains are trying to make that noise too. It's alright. It's okay. Again, it's one of those modes that you think, why? Why does he need it? With the mammoth mode and with the dragon mode and all of that stuff, why would he even bother with this? It seems sort of redundant. And again, it is definitely thrown in just to make up the numbers. It's okay. You'd never display him in this mode. He just looks too cumbersome and silly. And there's nothing for him to do, really. I mean, what possible use is that? In his jet mode, he's got guns. In his double-headed dragon mode, he's got claws and teeth and horns, and he can blow fire. What would he do in this mode? I mean, it seems to be a much more passive mode. Maybe this is the mode for when he's in a good mood and he goes prancing through the fields or something. It's not the best. Not the best by far. Okay, we're getting there. We're very, very slowly getting there. Clawing our way up through the vast piles of shit you get with this guy to reach the place of sunlight and diamonds up above. The first thing I think of whenever I see this mode is ba-ba-ba-bam, bum bum. That's all I can think of. I think of the 1990s Batman cartoons, and that's basically it. It looks like the Batmobile. There's not much else to say for it. It's okay. Does what it's supposed to. Hangs together pretty damn well, actually, considering the complexity of the transformation of this thing. It actually does hold together pretty damn well, and it does roll. The wheels are pretty cool. It suffers from what all of the modes suffer from. That is bits that the designers didn't know what to do with. So you have dragon mode heads hanging off the back, dragon mode feet hanging off the back. But it's alright. It looks like an alien land transport vehicle of some sort. It looks like the Batmobile, really, doesn't it? But yeah, I would account this as one of the better modes, to be perfectly honest. It looks like it does what it's supposed to, which is more than can be said for some of them. Okay, this, I would argue, is one of the more successful modes. It hangs together well, there's not much obvious kibble, unless you look at it from a particular angle. And it has an interesting little transformation that I rather like. Yeah, this is I was going to call him Devil Gigatron then. Devil Gigatron is what happens to him in the Japanese continuity when he's reborn. It's kind of like the whole Megatron Galvatron thing. He's reformatted into a white version that has more modes called Devil Gigatron or Galvatron in the ROD continuity at some point. This is apparently his gargoyle mode, and it's okay. It's not bad. It's a little fat, it's a little stubby, and what I really like about it is that it uses the robot mode head, but there's a little sort of like Halloween mask snout that flips up from inside the chest to form a kind of bat head. It's Gigatron in Halloween costume mode. He's going trick-or-treating, apparently. And it's alright, you know, it's yet another airborne mode that he doesn't really need, and which is made utterly redundant by the Dragon and the Jet modes, but it's okay. It looks good. It looks effective and quite frightening. It does have an issue. Looking at it like that, it's fine. Bum, ba 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 bum, bum, bum. Kibble. Lots and lots of kibble. Jet piece, dragon piece, car piece. It doesn't stop. There are bits and pieces of stuff everywhere that the designers just didn't know what to do with. He's kind of got a sort of Generation 1 mind wipe thing going on, where the legs just fling up the back and don't really do very much. At a push, you could be very generous and say that those are sort of thrusters to bear him up, but once again, enormous amounts of imagination required there. It's kibble, and it's not even that great as kibble goes. It doesn't add anything to the beastie. But this is an okay mode. I don't really mind him in this mode. He looks a wee bit silly, but compared to, say, the elephant or the griffin modes, this is pretty damn good. Now we're cooking. This, ladies and gentlemen, is what Gigatron is all about. This is what the toy is for. I have no doubt in my mind that this is one of the modes that the toy was originally designed around. If the robot mode turned into just this and the double-headed dragon, it would have been a fine toy. Easily one of the best Transformers out there, actually, given how joyously gorgeous the robot mode is, and we'll be getting onto that in a moment. But just take a look at that. It's got a sort of Cybertronian Generation 1 Cyclonus thing going on, but highly stylised, much more sinister and sleek looking than Cyclonus. It's very, very beautiful. And it seems to work so well in concert with the mode's colours. It seems to emphasise them and make them look so threatening. You can imagine this thing swooping down in a very predatory manner and wreaking havoc on the Autobot troops below. It really is fantastic. You know what I like about this mode more than anything? More than its intimidating wingspan, which is fantastic, more than its long neck and lovely translucent red cockpit at the front, more than anything, I like the fact that it puts several of his other modes out to pasture. I mean, what's the point of the Pteranodon or the Gargoyle or the Winged Griffin mode when you can turn into this? Why bother with them? Why would any Transformer worth their salt bother transforming into them when he can transform into this? And again, it sort of has a Batman thing going on. It very much looks like one of Batman's various doohickeys and vehicles that are stowed away in the Batcave, which is an aesthetic I rather like, I must admit. Very lovely mode. You may notice some slight differences in this portion of the video. That's because I've already recorded it once and my computer decided I'm going to devour it. I'm going to chew it up and spit it out, reduce the audio to babbling nonsense, etc, etc. So I'm having to re-record this portion of the video, which I fucking hate doing because it means the initial spark has gone. The muse has sung her song and flown for parts new. Even so, I don't really mind redoing this portion of the video because this mode is so cool. It's contentious, I will say that, and I'm sure there are going to be people out there who fucking hate it. It all depends on what you want from a Transformer. I have a soft spot for comic modes, like Magnetron's Triple Dinosaur Gangbang mode. I like the modes that are obviously designed to be a wee bit silly. There aren't many of them out there. A lot of the Transformers, they tend to take their alt mode somewhat seriously. This mode is mental. I really don't know how to describe it other than to just show it to you. Yeah, can you see what that is? Ah, it looks a bit more distinct when I hold it like that. If you imagine this as a thumb, and these as digits, as fingers coming over here, yeah, it's a big hand. Gigatron transforms into a big grasping hand. I mean, what? Where did that come from? What moment of lunatic marijuana-drenched inspiration dreamed that up as a feasible alt mode for a Transformer? You know what the funny thing is? It's actually pretty good. I like it. I think it's really effective. It looks like what it is. And it's so articulated. All of the digits are multiple jointed, and you can get it into some brilliant looking poses. For example, it can form a really big, monstrous looking fist for punching through buildings or crushing Autobots. It's really quite cool. It also obviously has loads of potential for being offensive and rude. Yeah, it's a mode that can really give epic finger. It's a mode that can really give the epic double finger, if you so desire. The potential is nigh endless, ladies and gentlemen. It's fantastic. I love this mode. Also, it's designed in such a manner that it actually can grasp Autobots quite easily. Which is nice. You can sort of have it rushing them into iron filings, which is very, very cool indeed. And it's all a lot of the Autobots in RID deserve, quite frankly, because particularly the car robots, the Autobot brothers as they're called, they are fucking shit toys. You'll never catch me reviewing them. The only Autobot really worth its salt in RID is actually there are two. There's Optimus and Ultra Magnus. Those are both spectacular toys. So yeah, that's Gigatron in his fisting mode. It's very, very weird. I have no idea where it came from. I imagine that once again it is an example of someone messing about with the toy, putting it into a particular configuration and saying, yeah, that kind of looks like a hand, so we'll market it as a mode. Fair enough. Absolutely fair enough. I don't mind one comic mode. It's just a shame that so many of his other modes are so unintentionally comic. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, forgive the slight variation in this portion of the video. Once again, example of the computer being a tit-faced, bollock-brained piece of shit. Yeah, that diatribe out of the way. This is one of Gigatron's finest modes. One of the modes that the toy was obviously designed around originally. Oh, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, indeed. I have a thing for Dragonformers, as you well know. Dragonformers turn my crank. They make me think very, very, very naughty things and feel warm, squirmy feelings in the pit of my loins. And this is a very, very, very fine example. Okay, it's not, in and of itself, I'd say it isn't as successful as, say, Cryotech or TM2 Megatron, perhaps arguably even Beast Wars Galvatron. I think I prefer Beast Wars Galvatron's Dragon mode to this, because of course none of those are as compromised by extraneous other modes as this one, but even so, ladies and gentlemen, ooh, I think they nailed it with this one. He's a very, very, very successful dragon indeed. And another way you could tell that the bot was originally designed to cater to this mode is that there's no kibble. Look, nothing. There's no hint of the other modes. All of the portions of other modes, such as the tail here, actually form parts of the dragon and do so very, very effectively. He's gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. The articulation in his necks and his heads is fantastic. As is all over, he's completely, fully articulated. I particularly like his weedy little Tyrannosaurus Rex style arms that are completely impotent. Very, very nice indeed. And like Galvatron, Beast Wars 2 Galvatron's Dragon mode, he has a very definite Godzilla monster thing going on. He's very Japanese in design, especially with the designs of the heads of the dragon, with these beautiful, beautiful crests on the top, as opposed to horns. Very lovely indeed. In fact, barring Generation 1 Double Cross, who is one of the monster bots, I think he's the only double-headed dragon in Transformers history. Correct me if I'm wrong. I can't think of any other double-headed dragons off the top of my head. And as I said before, if the Transformer only turned into this mode and the jet mode, he would have been spectacularly successful. The other modes are largely unnecessary compared to them. They're both beautiful. And combined with a truly phenomenal bot mode, he would have likely sat amongst some of my favourite Transformers ever. And he does. He is a really cool thing. He's very ambitious, and a lot of invention has gone into him. I can really appreciate that. Even though he's not a 100% successful experiment, he succeeds on enough levels that it really doesn't matter. All of the crappy modes, they really don't matter when he has modes like this, modes that are so unambiguously successful. Now, ladies and gentlemen. This is the pièce de résistance insofar as Gigatron goes. Cryptic, bizarre, and half-arsed as some of his other modes are, I can forgive this toy anything when I look at its robot mode. The robot mode is glorious. It's second only to the likes of Beast Wars Galvatron. In fact, I would argue it's not even second. It kind of parallels Beast Wars Galvatron in just how fantastic it is. If only the other modes were as well conceived and as meaningful as this, it would have been easily one of the finest Transformers to have ever existed. There he is. That, ladies and gentlemen, is R.I.D. Megatron Car Robots Gigatron in his splendid robot mode. Now, insofar as Transformers robot modes go, this guy just does everything for me. The colour scheme is fantastic. It is quintessentially Decepticon/Predacon. Black, red, silver, gold and purple. Can't go wrong with that colour scheme. It would take a great deal of effort, conscious effort, or monumental incompetence to make that colour scheme look bad. Also, the sculpt itself is glorious. He hardly has an ounce of kibble on him, and that which does exist largely enhances the look of the guy. He has wings. He has fantastic wings. I absolutely love this guy's wings. You can fold them down like that and they have a sort of cape thing going. You can spread them out so he has a sort of devil, fallen angel-like motif. He's fantastic. He has swords, and not only does he have swords, but the swords, you can take one of the swords, fix it to the other one, and it becomes a kind of double-bladed Sith-style battle staff. How wonderful is that? He also has, you can't see it on this camera unfortunately, but he has one of the finest face sculpts in Transformers history. His face is so well designed. There's a thing about the Megatrons from this era. They tend to all have these constipated grimaces that make them look stupid rather than threatening. This guy just looks deeply, deeply perturbed. He looks like he's about to wail on an underling who's failed him somehow, which is very, very fitting. Yeah, he is absolutely fantastic in this mode. One of the very best Transformers from this line, the R.I.D. Car Robots line. Unfortunately, the Decepticons/Predacons didn't get a very good deal in this line. They tended to consist of repaints from other lines and nothing else. This was the only new mould made for it, and bloody hell, you can tell they poured all of their effort into this. Even though it doesn't succeed 100%, it really doesn't matter. I display him in this mode because there's nothing to fault him. There really isn't. He is fantastic in this mode. So good, in fact, that I can forgive the Mammoth, I can forgive the Gargoyle, I can forgive the Pteranodon, and all of the other shitty half-assed modes that this guy boasts. It's fantastic and well worth picking up. He's actually really easy to get. He's everywhere and quite cheap. You can even get the slightly rarer white Devil Gigatron version of him for reasonably cheap. So head ye over to eBay or wherever you get your Transformers from and give him a look up. I guarantee you won't be disappointed.